Hi guys, it's Morgan and welcome back to my channel. So today for my October video, I am doing horror movies in every state. So I am going to kind of breeze through these. I'm going to talk a little bit about the ones I have seen. I will tell you this was very hard to find some for all the states, and I can't talk about a lot of these. And I will say that also, since it was hard finding horror movies, some of these are thrillers. So bear with me and let's get started with this video. So for Alabama, I have the movie Hayride. Know nothing about this. I'm assuming it's about a hayride, and that's literally all I know. So for Alaska, the movies I have are 30 Days of Night and The Fourth Kind. So can't tell you what 30 Days of Night is. I want to say it's about vampires. I really don't remember, but I have heard of this movie, I swear. And then I also put The Fourth Kind, which is about aliens. I have not seen it. I've heard it's okay. I'm just not a huge alien movie fan. For the state of Arizona, I did put Phoenix Forgotten, which I kind of remember looking into this. I think it's more of like a true crime thriller, I think. We'll see. Hopefully, don't hate me. So, for my home state of Arkansas, I'm super excited to talk about these. So, the big one that most people know about is Devil's Knot, and it is starring Reese Witherspoon. And this movie is about an actual event that did happen in Arkansas. It was these 3 boys that were sexually abused and murdered. And it goes through the trial of these teenagers that they think committed the crime, but they don't know if they committed the crime. It's a really good movie overall. I am pretty close to the actual case. I have heard about it my whole life, and I am not really going to give my side of the case because honestly, it's pretty crazy. Also, I added, if you're into documentaries, I added Paradise Lost, which is the actual teenagers are in it, the parents of the kids that got killed. It's a very good documentary, and I want to say there's actually 3 parts, and I've seen all of them, so highly recommend those. So the movies I chose for California are one, The Zodiac, which is a movie I've talked about a couple times on this channel about the actual true crime case of the Zodiac killer, this infamous serial killer that never got caught. And then for the second movie I chose for California is Poltergeist. I have seen the new Poltergeist, was not a fan. I haven't seen the old one, which I heard the old one is better. I just have not gotten around to watching it. And then for Colorado, I did put The Shining, which, duh, obvious. I've talked about The Shining before, so I don't really have much to say about it. And then for the state of Connecticut, I tried to not put The Haunting of Connecticut. Obviously, that is one of them. But that was kind of like a dumb movie, so I didn't want to put that on there. So I did put Orphan, which I also have just recently talked about. It is about a girl that's adopted that has like a dark past that the adoptive parents don't know about. And it's a pretty crazy movie. For Delaware, I did put Goosebumps, which I know is like more of a kid scary movie thing, but that is one that I found on there. And then also Survival of the Dead, which I'm pretty sure is like I don't know if it's a sequel to like Night of the Living Dead, or I think it has something to do with those movies, but to be honest, I have not seen them. I should, but I have not seen any of them. So for the state of Florida, the movie I chose was Monster, and it is based on the actual crimes committed by Eileen Wuornos, which is a really infamous serial killer, big female serial killer. She has a crazy story. I have not seen this movie personally, but I've seen many documentaries on her. She is very fascinating. For the state of Georgia, I had a hard time, so I did put the thriller Deliverance, which I believe, I have not seen it, but I have heard about it. It is about a group of friends that go, I want to say like either kayaking or river rafting or something really dangerous. Bless you. Something really dangerous that happens. And it's just a big thrill ride. That's basically all I have to say about it. So for Hawaii, I also kind of struggled a little. The only one that I found, personally, I have not seen this movie. I don't know if this is true. And obviously it takes place up in the air. It's Snakes on a Plane. So I don't know if this is really factual, if this is based in Hawaii, but this is just that's all I could find for this. So for Idaho, I also tried to find something that was not what everybody else would expect. And I did find The Siege at Ruby Ridge, which I'm not sure if it's like a documentary or a movie, one or the other. But Ruby Ridge, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it, based on a true story. And that's all I could find for Idaho. So for the state of Illinois, I did put Halloween, which is Haddonfield, Illinois is where Halloween takes place. Don't think I have to talk about Halloween. I'm sure most of you have seen it. For the state of Indiana, I believe we have another alien movie, and it is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I have not seen this movie. I've kind of heard about it here and there, don't know much about it. So for Iowa, we do have the movie The Crazies. I heard lots of things about this movie when it came out, and I believe they might have even made a second one, I'm not sure. But I have wanted to see it for a really long time, and I just have not found it at like my local video store or anything like that. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. So for Kansas, I did put Brightburn, which I know is a more recent movie. It was like a superhero / horror take on it. I personally enjoyed it. I know a lot of people did not for some reason, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. So for the state of Kentucky, I did put Return of the Living Dead. I have not seen this, have not seen any of the movies that have anything to do with it, so can't really say much. So for Louisiana, I did put 10 Cloverfield Lane and The Last Exorcism. I have not seen The Last Exorcism, haven't heard anything about it, if it's any good or not. But I did watch 10 Cloverfield Lane, and I really liked it, and JC also really liked it. So for the state of Maine, it's pretty self-explanatory. Basically, every Stephen King film ever. So that goes for It, Pet Sematary, and Carrie. Those are the ones I've listed, but basically all of them. Then we move on to Maryland, which their movie is The Blair Witch Project. Really good one. Good job, Maryland. So for the state of Massachusetts, I do not know a whole lot about the state personally, as far as like movies and stuff go. I know they have lots of stuff for like Boston, but as far as like horror, all I could find was Reanimator, which I have not seen. I've heard good things, and I'm sure there's more, honestly. I'm sure there's more horror movies out there that I have not found for Massachusetts, but that's just what I have for today. So for the state of Michigan, you guys also have some really good horror movies. So I put Evil Dead and then also Don't Breathe, which are two great movies. Highly recommend both of them. So for Minnesota, I did put Jennifer's Body, which I'm not sure if this one's true because I have not seen or heard a lot about this movie, but that's about the only one I could find. I know that I've heard the movie is pretty good, but like I said, personally, I have not seen it. So I'm not going to lie, for this next one, for Mississippi, I did struggle quite a bit, and the only one I found was A Time to Kill. I'm pretty sure it's more of like a drama thriller. Don't know much about it, but that's literally it. So then we move on to Missouri, which is another state I have lived in, so pretty cool there. And I did put You're Next and Winter's Bone. So I have seen both of these. You're Next is a pretty good movie that I never heard anybody talk about. I believe it is focused on a girl that goes to her boyfriend's family's Thanksgiving or something along those lines, and they have a home invasion attack, and they have to basically fight for their lives. And that was a pretty good movie in my opinion. And then also Winter's Bone is more of like a drama thriller-ish type movie, but it is a very dark movie. It was filmed in the Ozarks, which is where I grew up. A lot of the places filmed for the movie were there, and I just have like an attachment to it. And fun fact, it was, I believe, Jennifer Lawrence's like one of her first big movies, and that's the first time I ever saw her. Then we move on to Montana, which has, yet again, I believe this is another alien movie, and it is Arrival. I don't know much about this movie as well, haven't seen it. And then for Nebraska, I did put Children of the Corn, which I believe different Children of the Corn movies are based in different states. But specifically, the version I like to watch, the older Children of the Corn, is based in Nebraska. Moving on to Nevada, there is a movie that used to scare the absolute shit out of me and my cousin, is Tremors. When we used to watch that as a kid, it was so scary. And then also Area 51, which I have not seen as well. I struggled quite a bit with finding a horror movie based in New Hampshire, and all I could find is this movie called Sacrifice, which sounds pretty dark, obviously. I don't know much about it, but that's pretty much all I could find for New Hampshire, unfortunately. Then we go to New Jersey, which is Friday the 13th. And it doesn't talk about it a whole lot in the Friday the 13th movies, I don't believe. I'm almost positive it is based in New Jersey, but I can't remember like any hard evidence for that, just kind of stuff I've looked up. So hopefully that's correct. So moving on to the state of New Mexico, I did put The Hills Have Eyes, which is a very good movie. I highly recommend it. And then also Natural Born Killers, which I have not seen, and I believe it's more of like an action thriller movie, but I've heard it's really good. New York, one of my favorite places I've ever been. I did put Cloverfield, the first Cloverfield, which I was a fan of. It wasn't that bad. It was found footage, and so genuinely I'm not in love with those type of movies. This one was okay. And then also Rosemary's Baby, which is one of my favorites, so I'm pretty biased. Those are great movies I think you guys should watch, especially if you live in New York. For the state of North Carolina, I put Cape Fear, which I think is like Robert De Niro is in that. I don't hate me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I've heard about this movie and I just haven't seen it. I also can't attest if this is a horror movie or not, but I think it's probably along the lines of a thriller. For the state of North Dakota, I did put Leprechaun, which is a movie that I have been wanting to see. I know I've heard it's not very good, but it's just one of those that I just think would be really fun to watch. And then moving on to the state of Ohio, the movie Ma that just came out. This is another one that I believe it didn't really state if it was in Ohio, but I'm pretty sure it was. This movie was okay. Wasn't my favorite, but it did just come out recently if you're into recent movies. And going to the state I currently live in, Oklahoma. Oklahoma, man, like, we have got to get our shit together. I could not find horror movies for Oklahoma, like, to save my freaking life unless they had, like, some Indian documentary or something that wasn't really a horror movie. The only one I could find is one I have never heard of in my life. I'm sure it's shit, but it is Keys to Tulsa. Don't ask me anything about it. That's all I could find, and I'm very disappointed about it. Moving on to the state of Oregon, I did put Splinter, which I haven't heard of, don't know anything about, but there you go, Oregon. That's all I could get. So for the state of Pennsylvania, I did put Sinister and also The Visit. I have seen both of these. Sinister I've seen a very long time ago, but I remember liking it quite a bit. And then The Visit is an M. Night Shyamalan film, and honestly, I cannot prove that this was from Pennsylvania. I don't remember them saying that specifically, but it was on the list for horror movies in Pennsylvania. And then as far as Rhode Island is concerned, you small state, you, so cute. All I could find was The Conjuring, which that's a big one. It's a great one, but I didn't see much else as far as like horror movies based in Rhode Island. So moving on to South Carolina, I did put Slither and Asylum, and I have not seen Slither. I think I've heard of Slither. I'm not positive though, don't know what it's about. But Asylum, I believe, is like a dramatic thriller-ish. I think I've seen this. I want to say I've seen this, but I am not sure. South Dakota, man, you guys are kind of on par with Oklahoma, where I dug for this shit. And I could not find horror movies for you guys. Like, what the hell? All I could find is this movie called Beast from Haunted Cave. And I am so sorry. I don't know anything about this. Don't even remember when it's from. But that's all I found. So you guys need to get on it as well. Like, come on, come out with some horror movies, please. So moving on to Tennessee, which is also another place I have lived. I've lived in quite a few states. So this one, I found not very many, but I did see one on this list that I have actually watched, and that is Jugface, which I know sounds ridiculous. I watched it on Netflix, I want to say, like, probably 5 years ago. I don't even think it's anywhere near Netflix anymore. But if I remember right, I liked it, but it was hella weird, like super weird. I remember a lot about incest and like some magical fantasy stuff that goes along with incest. It was an interesting watch though. If you're into like those creepy ass movies. I mean, that was a pretty entertaining one in my opinion. So, moving on to Texas, the big state of Texas. You guys have tons of horror movies, obviously. So, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I don't even have to talk about. And then also The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which took place, it's based on a true story, and the killings took place in Texarkana, I believe, which is the border between Texas and Arkansas. I have not seen the movie, but I know a lot about the case, so those would be great watches. For the state of Utah, I didn't find a whole lot. I did find a movie that was kind of based in several states, and it is a more recent movie. It is Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, which is a movie that just came out, starring Zac Efron, and it is about Ted Bundy. So that was, in my opinion, a pretty good movie. I do like some of the documentaries I've seen about Ted Bundy better than this movie, but I liked that the movie was the point of view of Ted Bundy's girlfriend, I believe, so that was a pretty interesting take on the story. To Vermont, I did put The Neighbor, which I think I saw recently. I'm pretty sure this movie came out recently. And it was about kind of like, it's a home invasion film. If I am thinking of the right movie, it's about home invasion films. And those are some of my favorite. I know that they do not scare a lot of people, and that sucks. Because to me, home invasion films are some of the scariest films for me, because I am home alone a whole lot, and that stuff just scares the absolute shit out of me. So, the state of Virginia. I also did not find a whole lot, but I did find Donnie Darko, which is a great movie. It is not really a horror movie. It's more of like a dark thriller. But I don't even know how to talk about this movie. It's just one of those movies you have to watch. It's pretty weird. You kind of have to watch it a couple times probably to kind of understand. But I do highly recommend it. Also for Virginia, I did put the movie Mama and also Silence of the Lambs. So Mama I watched a very long time ago, and I'm not sure how to explain it because it has been so long. I remember liking it when I was younger, when it first came out, but I don't remember much else about it. And then obviously Silence of the Lambs I've talked about. It's just my favorite movie. I mean, I can't really say much else about it. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was longer, and sorry I haven't seen all of these. I tried to get some that I had heard of, that I had seen before, but unfortunately some of you guys just gotta come out with some horror movies, like, but anyway, let me know down below what state you live in, or what movie that I may have missed from a state you live in. That would be great. I would love to watch some more movies based out of states that I have lived in or surrounding areas. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.